Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well there and having a good day. I'm still on my return. I'm on my third video after a long absence. I told you I was back, didn't I? Um, so what do I have to talk to you about today? Well, I have a few things for you today, and I guess I should start with talking about The Secret Scripture by Sebastian, and which I've now finished. I spoke about this last week, and spoke about how good it was, how much I was enjoying the writing. And now that I've finished it, my opinion hasn't changed. I absolutely loved this. The ending to the book was more clever than I was anticipating, which is nice, but very, very good. And it deals with, as I mentioned briefly in the previous video, it has to do with a 100-year-old woman, or we think she's 100 years old, there or thereabouts, who is in a nursing home and is looking back across her life and trying to piece things together, trying to remember things, trying to tell her story. And I don't want to go into much more than that, because I wouldn't want to ruin it for anyone that wants to give it a shot. But it's an excellent book, and it made me realise actually that, looking back over what I've read so far this year, one of the themes that has emerged, or at least there's 2 or 3 books, checking my trusty reading log, there's been a few books that have dealt with age, and I'm surprised that that's been a recurring theme this year, but maybe that's just coincidence, or maybe it's somewhere in the unconscious I'm being propelled towards books that deal with age. But the other 2 books that deal with that subject, very famous one, I'm sure everyone knows about, The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiuro. That was also an excellent book. I absolutely loved that book, and it just made me feel so peaceful once I'd finished it, and I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about also the letters of Daphne du Maurier, who is an author that I've never actually read her work, but I enjoy reading books of letters. And this was letters that was edited by Oriel, Malet, and it's kind of a portrait of a friendship over really the course of a lifetime. And so it kind of fascinated me. I was reflecting today and yesterday about that theme that had come up in my reading of age, and what makes it so interesting, and I think it has to do with a few things, kind of getting older, wiser, and things that happen as you get older. You maybe become there's more humility, perhaps, maybe more vulnerability. There's the dealing of regret, there's the feeling, the dealing with the loss of maybe mental health, physical health, loved ones, and I don't mean that to sound, obviously none of those things are particularly easy to deal with, but it's also interesting, and it's life, and it's I suppose that's what I find interesting when it comes to reading. It's dealing with I don't want to say the great tragedy of life, because that makes it sound too kind of dismal and bleak. I like to think life's sort of 50% good, 50% bad, but there's something about the reflections of someone at old age that is so informative and so interesting and so in many ways comforting. And so yeah, that was really 3 of the most enjoyable books that I've read this year, and maybe from now on, in a much more conscious way, I may seek out more books that deal with the subject of aging. So yep, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. Next up, I suppose I find myself doing a little bit of a book haul. I picked this up at the library where I work. I just saw it and I thought it looked quite quirky and quite fun. And it's a book called The Ascent of Doodle. How is that for a book title? As I try and avoid the glare of the sun. So it's written by W.E. Bowman, and this is just a bit of a lark. It's silly fun. It's a spoof. It puts me in mind of Terry Pratchett and maybe something like Monty Python. For those that have watched Monty Python, it's a very, very silly kind of humour, and it's kind of relentlessly silly. Maybe too relentless for my taste, even though I have a very silly sense of humour myself. It's but so far it's okay. It's okay. I think I've read into the first sort of 50 pages, and even though I enjoy that silly kind of humour, it doesn't really give you a break from it. It's kind of relentless. It's almost like one joke after another, which is okay, but I guess for my initial feelings on it are that maybe it can be done with a little bit of light and shade. The silliness broken up with a more coherent story, and other things apart from silliness. It'd be good to sort of have a bit of a mix in there. But that was my initial feeling. But it's Doodle is actually a mountain, and it's about a group who try to make the ascent of this mountain, and you've got a navigator who always gets lost. You've got a doctor who's always ill, and that kind of thing. And due to a miscalculation by one of the organisers, about 3,000 more porters than was required. Which goes to show never ever underestimate the importance of a decimal point. It's extremely important. The other books that I've picked up, again just because I thought they were interesting, is Rumpoles Return. I've never actually read any Rumpole books. I'm more familiar with it because growing up here in Scotland, in the UK, and I'm sure it was shown in around the world as well, but the old Rumpole series, which I guess would have been on in the 80s, and I suppose I've got a bit of nostalgia for that programme, and the person who played Rumpole was just so perfect for that role. But I'm looking forward to this. I'm expecting it to be fairly light-hearted and fun and clever at the same time, so we'll see. I shall report back on that. Another book that I picked up, which I thought looked intriguing. We're throwing an awful lot of stock out at the library where I work at the moment, and so I've become the beneficiary of that in some ways and can get books extremely cheaply. And I thought this looked very interesting, and it's called The Creatures of Celtic Myth by Bob Curran. And as you can see by the cover, the artwork is fascinating, excellent. It is what it says on the front cover. You know, it goes into all the Celtic myths, not just here in Scotland, but across all countries that have Celtic folklore, I suppose. Wales, Ireland, Scotland, and you can see some of the artwork is just great. So I'm looking forward to reading this. You know, it's one of these kind of Celtic myths. It's a subject that, you know, I have to confess I feel quite ignorant of. And I'd certainly like to find out more, and this seems to me like it would be the perfect place to start. And I love this kind of artwork. It makes me want to start drawing again, or at least have a go at drawing. And talking about actually hobbies that I don't really have time for, or I'd like to get round to. You know, it's always been my problem, if you could call it that, is that I'm interested in so many things, so many different things, that I just don't have time to devote to them all. And talking about old age, you know, even though I'm not close to being retired, if I had the finances, I could retire quite happily and never be bored because of all these interests that I have that I'll never get round to. But here's you know, I'm about to show you this book and I'm laughing at myself because it's almost ridiculous. Because why do I want this book? You know, I kind of know that in my heart of hearts I'm never going to use it, but I love languages. So it's the Collins phrase book, Mandarin phrase book, which is quite amazing. But it's just interesting to me, you know, languages. You never know, I might have a brainstorm one day and suddenly decide that I'm going to read it. So we shall see. We shall see. And finally today, I think maybe I will do a randomly generated book from the past from my reading log, and see if I can remember the book, see if it sparks any memories, see if it well, we'll find out. So the trusty random number generator has come up with a number of 205. As the screen changed there. Okay, 205. Let's see what book 205 is. Okay, it is actually The Human Universe by Professor Brian Cox. Fascinating book, although as you would expect, very, very science heavy. It goes without saying. I don't know how famous Professor Brian Cox is around the world or in America, but in this country he is he's a famous scientist, a TV presenter who delivers pretty complex scientific ideas to the public in a way that they can digest. And I wish I could say that I could remember facts from that book. I remember being fascinated by it, but I think science is something that unless you're studying it and looking at it the whole time, then you don't really remember too much. But it's another one of those things that I don't have time to get round to properly. But all of Brian Cox's material is good, and in fact, for those of you who may not know who he is, it's worth looking him up on YouTube or elsewhere, and you can see the kind of things he delivers, and I think a lot of people would find it very interesting. So yeah, that's Professor Brian Cox. So I think I will leave it there for today. I don't want to ramble on too much, and as per usual, I thank you all for watching and wish you the best, and I'll see you in the next video.